Okay, good morning, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Monday, the 27th day of July in the year 2026. This is a budget hearing for the Department of Administration and Human Resources with the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 10 a.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 10:06 a.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this budget hearing? Councilperson Brooks. Councilperson Zupa.
Here.
Councilperson Efros.
Here.
Councilperson Little is not here. Councilperson Gilmore. Not here. Councilperson Singh.
Here.
Councilperson Griffin.
Here.
Councilperson LaBarro.
Here.
And Council President Ridley.
Here.
We have 6 council members in attendance at 10:06 a.m. In addition, at the time of its preparation, the notice of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Thursday, July 23rd, 2026 at 1:32 p.m. to the mayor, municipal council, business administrator, corporation council, and the local newspaper, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Council President, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. This is week 2 of our budget hearings. And this morning we are starting with the Department of Administration. Thank you all for being here this morning. I'm just finding my notes. And as usual, we have a different council person chairing each of our sessions, and this morning's session will be led by Councilwoman Singh. So I'm going to turn it over to Councilwoman Singh this morning.
Thank you, Council President. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And I'm very excited for this because we have a new director, Director Ruby Choi. And just so everybody knows, we have 19 employees. And with the BA, we have a couple of other departments like communication, utility, HR, IT, and internal audit, right? All right, over to you, Director Ruby Choi.
Sean, would you be able to put the presentation up? Oh, perfect. Everybody can see? Great. All right. Well, I've been sitting in on a lot of these budget hearings, and today is mine. Before I start with the presentation, I just want to say I started in May, and the last 3 months have been a real learning experience for me. I want to thank everyone for meeting with me, the council, but also all the members of my team and heads of the various departments in Jersey City. Thank you for everyone's patience as I ask a lot of questions to understand history and background of how Jersey City is run. I've had many jobs in larger city government with very complex environments, but I have to say by far, this has been the most challenging role that I've been in. And this is not just because of the budget crisis, but also because of how meaningful this role is as business administrator, where I directly have impact on how city government is run. So I really see this as a true opportunity for us to work together and move the city forward. So I appreciate the teamwork, and I'm really looking forward to the partnership. So with that, I'm going to jump right in. So as the councilwoman said, we under the Department of Administration run the day-to-day operations of city government. So that includes HR, IT, communications, internal audit, all kinds of compliance, as well as the municipal court. We collaborate with all 9 city departments, and we ensure the implementation of citywide policies, initiatives, and manage the process of introducing legislation and other items to the city council for approval. So some stats, 9 city departments that I, as the BA, coordinate. We have 8 divisions and offices in the business administration department. And then as a city, in totality, we have a total of 3,000 plus city staff. So just to articulate a little bit more of this org structure, because it's a little bit complicated when we're talking about the business administrator versus the Department of Administration. So as business administrator, I oversee public safety, public works, health and human services, and infrastructure. Those are departments that have their own budget hearing meetings, and we've been going through the budget workbook and all the questions you have. So that's why I have also been helping answer some of those questions. Today's hearing is about the Department of Administration, which includes HR, IT, communications, our Office of Diversity Inclusion, our Office of Tax Abatement and Compliance, Office of Internal Audit, the Municipal Court, and the Public Defender. The Municipal Court and Public Defender will have its own public hearing on Wednesday. So ideally, we can cover those questions in more detail on Wednesday. High level, as business administrator, I oversee citywide operations. But as the head of Department of Administration, I also manage the internal government functions. And then overarchingly, I coordinate all the implementation of citywide policies and initiatives, working with the other departments that may not be represented here in this org structure. So just going into a little bit more detail about the Department of Administration, which each of those divisions and offices are represented in the budget workbooks that you saw for the Department of Administration. First, I'll say we have the director's office, which includes assistant BAs and other staff that help me supervise all the divisions under the Department of Administration and coordinate those citywide policies and operations. We have a internal audit team, actually recently hired someone who started last week to focus on building out that performance management system, the city stat model, to track performance across departments. We also have an Office of Tax Abatement and really contract compliance. This office has existed for a number of years, and they monitor state, federal compliance on abatements, contracts, and construction-related requirements. I have under me the Director of Human Resources, which is by far one of the largest divisions under Department of Administration. They oversee the onboarding and hiring of our employees, but also benefits, pension, payroll of our 3,000 plus current and retired employees. Communications unit is also under me. That includes emergency communications, anything that we put out on our website, social media, and public messaging. Then we have the Office of Diversity Inclusion. This is a team that focuses on our city contracts, ensuring that we have a focus on MWBE vendors and contractors being part of our procurement in the city. And then there's IT, which is my soft spot here. Information technology oversees the city's IT infrastructure, network security, technical support, and application development. I have to say, I was coming from working directly for a large city in IT. We had a ratio of 1 IT staff to 50 employees in New York City. Here, we have 1 IT staff to over 300 employees. So we're, by comparison, very short staff in terms of IT support. And then, like I mentioned, Municipal Court and the Municipal Public Defender, those two are also under the Department of Administration, but we have a separate hearing for them on Wednesday. So what have we accomplished? A lot of these accomplishments, I'll say, happened before me coming on board, but we have a very big role in introducing and coordinating among our various departments the presentation of ordinance and resolutions at city council meetings. So that's the stat there, about 1,300 since January. And then in terms of service improvements, we've created HR committees that meet weekly to streamline the review process for personnel transactions. That includes hiring and transfers and things like that, but also issues to discuss issues related to labor, EEO, and the equal pay complaints. Separately, we are also beginning to reorganize our internal audit. Like I mentioned, we're trying to create a city stat model, accountability model, and restructure HR to support our city employees. So some of the impact that we are delivering. I spoke a little bit about IT. One of the things that we've initiated is the consolidation of public safety IT with the rest of the city. And here we've started to look at cost savings and efficiencies by consolidating those two offices. We've also created an integrated management plan for IT users and looking at their software utilization as well as the infrastructure that supports them. We're starting to work on our contract tracking. I think I mentioned this a couple of times in our city council meetings, really trying to understand when contracts are set to expire so we can get ahead of those renewals and approvals. Separately, we've also launched a citywide immigration enforcement interaction training for our staff. We've launched this a couple of weeks ago, and I have to say we've made a lot of progress in getting training for the staff. About, I want to say 75% have completed that training. We're also reviewing all city fees revenue to modernize and maximize our collections. We're updating the city's payroll tax collection efforts alongside finance. We're also modernizing the city's website for transparency and public access. And then most recently, we instituted a remote work pilot policy to stay competitive and hopefully support work-life balance. This is the proposed budget. It corresponds to the budget workbook. We have about 13.6 million in personnel and 3.6 million in other expenses. This total proposed budget of 17.3 million. So just to break it down further, this chart represents the proposed budget for each of the divisions that I talked about earlier. I want to call out the most significant difference in terms of comparing our 2026 proposed budget to the adopted 2025 budget. This is in IT in particular. Just like a couple of other departments that have presented, there were certain things in the capital budget in 2025 that really should have been represented in the operating budget for IT. These were a total of 1.8 million in contractual expenses for maintenance of software subscriptions, storage systems, and other standard tools that really should have been captured in the operating expenses and not capital. So adjusting for that, we have in IT actually a decrease in the proposed 2026 budget, and then overall for the BA's office, a decrease of about 7% in our proposed budget. Happy to go into more detail division by division. So what we've cut already in personnel, we've cut about $600,000, eliminated 8 full-time staff, 1 part-time, and 3 seasonal positions. And then in terms of programming, cut about $450,000. We ended the employee bike share passes that we had. We also cut some professional services, dues and subscriptions, and other related training items. And then on the contract side, we cut $550,000. We ended the Vital Check Wellness contract. This was our in-house employee wellness program. We also removed some redundant services that the law department now provides in EEO and legal services. Looking ahead, on the new revenue and cost savings ideas, working closely with IT to consolidate our IT contracts and cut duplicative services. This is related to Verizon phone and software that we pay for. We're also collaborating with all departments to track all cost savings and revenue initiatives. This is a big initiative that I have dedicated a number of the BA staff to focus on in the next year, especially as we're compiling the 2027 budget. And then launching a city stat dashboard that hopefully helps us compare those cost savings and revenue collection with service delivery, which is really important. And that's the data that we're lacking right now. In the second bucket, under grants and external funding, we're starting to look at all of our grants and try in our new grants to restructure it to recover administrative and fringe costs, offsetting some of our responsibilities across IT, HR, and administration. And then on the delivery of services, we're looking for new ways to deliver services, both internally and externally. Internally, modernizing our IT infrastructure is a big focus of ours, and integrating those various data systems in order to glean the data we need to support the city stat model, but also to improve service delivery. I mentioned that we're looking to redesign the city website for better transparency and public access to information. And then we are also updating our HR policies, focusing on improving recruitment and professional development. It's the end of my presentation, and I welcome any questions from the council.
Council, before you move on, I just wanted to record Councilperson Little at 10:09 a.m. So we now have 7 council members present. I didn't see you. What time did you enter, Councilperson Gilmore? That doesn't help me. 10:05 a.m. So we now have 8 council members present. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. As we have different division and different offices, so I will ask my colleagues to ask 3 line item questions, and then hopefully we'll have 1 hour to ask general questions. So I am starting first question. Director Choi, on business administration, can you please explain professional services, item number 3, line item number 312? What are the professional services we are paying for?
Which division is this reference to?
Which
Director's office.
division?
Business administration,
VA's office.
administration's office, sorry.
Councilwoman Chair, are we doing it by each sheet? So we're doing like administrator's office first?
I think because we have multiple offices and divisions, we can start with BA. And then we'll move forward to communication and utility, right?
Okay,
Okay.
just checking. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So under the administrator's office, right? And you're asking for line item
312,
okay,
professional services.
Got it.
Administrator's office.
Yeah, so this has been removed.
Okay. Councilwoman Little, do you want to start for line item, please?
Jump in if it's, you can jump in
Sure.
if it's, or
Yes. Do you want, are you ready? or-
Yes.
She's ready.
I just have one remaining question. One of my questions was what you just asked. Another was answered during the presentation. So my remaining question for the administrator's office. Can you explain the difference? So there are 2 assistant BA positions and 1 deputy municipal administrator position in salaries and wages, line item 101. Can you explain the difference between the 2 assistant business administrator positions and the 1 deputy municipal administrator position? Can you explain each of them, what their
Mhm.
job function entails, and are there any redundancies there?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
So I think in the org chart, I described the BA, business administrator, oversees a lot of different things. There's the Department of Administration, right, which I describe it as our internal government functions that we oversee. But then there's also other departments that roll up to the BA's office, such as public safety, public works, infrastructure, and health and human services. So between the 2 assistant BAs, their delegation of responsibilities are around both the internal facing divisions that we need to supervise and ensure the day-to-day runnings, but also the other departments that have direct city, provide city services. It's quite a lot, right? Every day we have an emergency, HVAC breaks, or an item that needs to be moved forward for city council approval. So I really rely on the assistant BAs to help support that, as well as driving new initiatives that are coming out of this office. The deputy municipal administrator, as you all know, had formerly been the acting BA. And I really lean on him for all the institutional knowledge of how the BA's office functions. His primary role has been to introduce items to the city council, but he also manages a lot of the new initiatives like the fees that we're looking at, the revenue projects that we're generating, more revenue to Jersey City. So he serves as both like a great institutional knowledge for me, but also drives a lot of the items that we present to the city council and the new projects that we're initiating.
Wait, you was finished, Elena?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. There's a couple accounting questions here. In business administrator, your line item for your salary, is this going to be prorated based on your start date in May? And then similarly, would Peter's be prorated based on his tenure as acting BA and now deputy municipal administrator?
That's correct. It's been prorated for the 2026 budget.
Right, and so that's just not reflected in our workbook yet. So if we can just mark that down as something to update to make sure that's accurate in the workbook, that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'll pass it along.
So looking at this org chart for the administrator's office, so John Mercer that person is gone, correct?
Correct.
So we have Kevin Lyons, assistant business administrator, Greg Corrado, assistant business administrator, and then deputy business administrator. Can you explain, and I think it's here, but just to get clarity, says the deputy administrator's salary went from it was requested, 144 was requested, subsequently 200 was drafted. If you can explain the differential for the 55,800. Says something to the tune of consolidating a position.
Yes, so Peter was previously the assistant business administrator. He was promoted to be the deputy municipal administrator. So that is why there's a change in his salary. His roles and responsibilities have grown since I will say last year, 2025, when he was still an assistant business administrator.
So just for like the lamest person that's watching, I briefly heard you explain to some degree the difference between the work that Peter's doing and the work that Greg's doing. But if you can elaborate a little more, because for me, when I'm looking at an org chart and I'm seeing the exact same position as it relates to functionalities and then the salary, um, it, it's a little, I'm taken a little aback.
Mhm.
So if you can further explain the difference in duties, and although we appreciate Peter's institutional knowledge, one should not be just compensated just for institutional knowledge.
Right. So yes, I'm happy to explain it further. The business administration function is similar to, equated to a COO position of a company, right? We're a company of revenue and budget of $800,000. COO department of a company of that size is a tremendous responsibility, right? We oversee huge departments, public safety, health and human services, public works. And there are directors who manage the day-to-day, but there's a lot of coordination between the various departments. So coordinating with finance, coordinating with the law department, coordinating with our maintenance of the buildings. That is what I rely the assistant BAs to do, to help me manage the day-to-day functions of those very, very important departments and coordinating them with the various departments outside of them, right? The deputy administrator, municipal administrator is focused primarily on moving things through for approval in city council, right? Peter's here in every meeting. He's the one who knows every item that is on the agenda, which involves in part working with the different departments that are presenting items to the council, but also a lot of back end work in terms of getting it ready to be presented. So I did say institutional knowledge because that's a lot to catch up on, but also he performs that main function of introducing legislation to be approved by the council.
Okay, so moving along, if you can differentiate so I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correct. So, because you use the analogy of a big corporation, they have CEO, CFO, and COO, and all of that stuff. So if you can briefly talk about your functionality as it relates to it, and as it relates to differing from the assistant business administrator and the deputy administrator.
Okay. So as business administrator, I would equate myself as a COO. So I am in charge of all of these operations. I'm the one responsible for all the decisions that are made in the business administrator's office. I rely on my assistant BAs and deputy to move things on a day-to-day basis. I give them direction. We have regular meetings. I have lots of tracking sheets to track the work we're doing. So internally, they work on managing the different divisions and offices and departments that roll up to the business administrator's office. And then for me, things get escalated for whatever reason. They're not moving or there's a policy decision that needs to be made. I either make that decision or I present it forward to our senior cabinet team, including the mayor, to have discussions on how we move forward on that decision. So that is my role.
I just think that there's a lot of top-heavy executive and administrators at the top. Let's see. Or the next one is for communications. So I think that's all my questions for now as it relates to that.
So, Council President?
question for, you're creating a new position, secretary, but it doesn't look like it's being accounted for in the, on the workbook in the total.
So the administrator's office, secretary.
Yes.
position? So that's actually an error. As we were going through the mayor's office workbook, that should be reflected under the mayor's office. So that is being changed and we'll be sending that forward today for the council.
That's my only question.
Yes, so we have multiple assistant business administrators. Can we just know the differences in their roles?
So I've described that they perform a function of liaising with the various departments, divisions, and offices under the BA's office. I have a tracking sheet of all the projects that they're assigned to, work directly with the department and divisions on. So I'm happy to share that with the council to delineate the work that they do. They're also responsible for any day-to-day requests or emergencies that pop up. And between the two BAs, assistant BAs, based on the projects they're working on, I may assign some things directly to one versus another based on their background and expertise.
Okay, so there's no duplication in services?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Morning. Change topic for a second. Excuse me, in your workbook, there's the diversity and inclusion department. What specific projects are they working on?
So the diversity inclusion office is led by Director Floyd Jeter.
Dr.
He
Jeter,
is-
great guy. There he is in the back. Yeah, just
He is here. So he helps promote in the MWBE business community all the contracts and work that the city is putting forward in terms of requests for proposals. So he plays a very big role in supporting those events and pushing out information whenever the city is looking to procure professional services or goods.
okay. And what about his staff members, the other three people in that department?
So he runs a really lean shop. His staff members are, they perform administrative functions to help him prepare for those events, push out information, respond to inquiries from businesses, and also liaises a lot with our procurement team, which is under the finance department, to review when departments are putting forward those proposals to ensure that they have a MWB goal and are recruiting from those communities.
Okay, so it's to assist with when we get proposals that were accurately reflecting the diversity of our city.
Correct.
Is there any, no, let me ask a different question. Which member of your office was responsible for responding to council requests for information?
It's a great question. I would say every member of my staff. But I do lean a lot on our assistant BAs to track that information and follow up with departments.
Okay, and then you were asked a bunch of questions about the difference between a deputy and an assistant BA. When was the deputy position made? When was Peter promoted?
Was promoted in June.
Of 2026 this year?
Correct.
And it was determined to give him the raise in June as well, the 56,000?
Correct.
Yes. Is there, now obviously every department we have in the city has a director, and some of them have several division directors. So is it fair to say that the assistant BAs are liaisons to the directors?
That's correct.
Then they report to the deputy, who then reports to you?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Well, hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. As I've said in past hearings, this is not singling anyone out or anything like that. I'm just committed to finding reductions so that we can be able to better reduce the tax rate in the hope of providing some relief to taxpayers, however little or more big we can get. So I just want to reiterate what Councilman Efro said about prorating. So there were two positions, I believe, that to be prorated that are on the director's office. That's obviously yourself as the business administrator. And then there's a, what's that?
The deputy.
The program analyst, right? Or is Elgal Fargali, is that salary amount included in there, or is it as part of, I'm guessing he retired. I don't know that for a fact. If you could just elaborate on that and whether that needs to be prorated as a position.
Yeah, that person had left before I came on board. And so, yes, we should be reflecting the prorated amount on the worksheet.
Okay. I know you addressed to Councilman Gilmore the deputy municipal administrator's salary bump, substantial bump of 55,800 for this year. Can you, why was that not handled as an acting cost, which has been shown up in some of our other budgets?
He is assuming that role permanently, so it's not an acting role. He was promoted into a deputy municipal administrator role.
I see. Okay. Moving along, just want to, there's a grant offset. Can you speak to that, the apprenticeship program?
I believe that program existed in 2025. It's no longer being run.
Okay, so there is no grant offset. It was just a 25.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving down to the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, I have two program specialists, two with the same title, wildly varying disparity in salaries there. Could you just speak to that?
I'm happy to provide more information afterwards, but there are different roles and responsibilities for those two employees. And they're also have different start dates with the city and different background and experience that often leads to differences in the salaries of folks with the same civil service title.
Okay, and you just get some
Sure.
specific clarity on that. I want to turn, if I may, I'm not sure, staying in the director's office to the 200 and 300 account numbers under other expenses. Can I do that or?
Asking administrator's office or?
The director's office, the line item's 201.
Yes, please.
So for 201. With me. So I see the administration reduce that amount, cut it in half, which makes sense. The current expense monthly spend is down on this, to date, $669. I'm just going to point these out because I will look to propose some amendments around this to reduce these amounts, but last year you spent over $4,800. So I can imagine that there's probably some more office supplies still to buy, but would like to just put that on the record and then can certainly discuss that later. Similarly, printing supplies, last year spent over $3,000. Again, the administration, mayor cut it in half to $3,000. Year to date, the expenditure is $329 as of July 21st. And then the recreation and educational materials, again, cut in half. And these are all, I want to acknowledge the administration for making those reductions, recognizing how much was spent in the past, but to date, $0 are spent out of that. Similarly, printing and advertising, 305, and membership and subscriptions, looking at similar types of reductions there, potentially.
Oh,
That concludes
thank
my.
you, Councilman.
Mont, I do, as it relates to the line item 305, printing and advertisement. What, can you speak a little to that? I mean, because we
Mhm.
have a printing shop in-house. You can't hear me, Sean? We have a printing shop in-house, so I'm confused. Well, first of all, what exactly are we printing and advertising?
So I mentioned the Office of Diversity and Inclusion does a lot of promotions. So there's printing for those events. That is where the printing and advertisement cost comes from.
I mean, we have the ability to print in-house. Have you guys looked into that? Because I know in DPW, they have a print shop, they make banners, signs, all type of things. So if we can look just to see if the capacity is there, so that way we could potentially have it done in-house. Also, as it relates to diversity and equity, do you envision embarking on a journey, as it relates, are you familiar with the Croson study?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Are you familiar with the Croson study?
No.
Okay. Guess we'll have a separate conversation about that, to bring you up to date on that, because we really want to make sure we're in the business of making sure that everyone have the opportunity to do business with the city.
Right.
Dr. Jeter have done a great job in his capacity as it relates to that office. But I would like to see more locals, more minority vendors partner with the city to have opportunity. And if you could just talk about what memberships and subscriptions they are.
So some of these memberships are affiliated with business administrators in New Jersey. So for example, I'm joining the League of Business Administrators. I don't know if I got the name right, but it helps with sharing of knowledge among New Jersey, other cities that face, similar challenges and problems. So some of those membership dues are related to joining those affiliations.
Councilwoman, I just had a quick question I forgot to
Please.
ask. Thank you. In the abatement and compensation area or office, sub office, could you just speak to how typical it is to have this kind of size staff for the workload of the abatement and compliance workload that we need as a city? We have two coordinators of monitoring and evaluation. We have a clerk, a senior community relations specialist, and a supervising administrative analyst.
Yeah, just to give you some stats on what the team is working on right now. So this is the Office of Tax Abatement and Compliance. This includes all public contracts, basically. And they've been in existence for 11 years. So they have currently in their queue monitoring 130 tax abatement post-construction contract applications, and about 7 active tax abatement projects and 21 public contract construction projects with 3 pending for commencement. So this a tremendous workload for a small team, and they work closely with HEDC, who you'll hear about this afternoon, as well as our procurement team under finance.
Thank you. And then could you speak to, we have an audit of abatements that is hopefully going to be published very soon and hopefully is going to be completed very soon. What role does this group and this team play with that kind of audit? And you just talk about the relationship of the work they've been doing for the past decade or so that they've
Mhm.
been a team, and then the situation that we're in, where we're now having to look back and review the compliance of all of these audits or all these abatements?
Yeah, so I think you'll hear more about the audit this afternoon with HEDC, but this team works very closely with them in terms of compiling the data and the information. Each of these contracts, you can imagine, are hundreds and hundreds of documents. And so this office serves as both record keeping, but also is for all the active contracts, working directly with procurement to ensure that contractors are in compliance. And any issues that they see, they're reporting back to the relevant departments. So that is the role that they play.
And just lastly, I'm sorry, thank you. Organizationally, this fits into the administrator's office or administrator as opposed to in finance or as opposed to an HEDC because of the outstanding procurement work that's done, or what kind of organizationally does it belong here?
I can't speak to the history of how it ended up under the business administrator's office. Maybe some of you guys may know. I see their role as equivalent to the internal audit team, right? Like you're independently reviewing these contracts outside of the departments that may be managing those contracts. Similar to the Office of Diversity Inclusion, right? They're ensuring that there's MWB representation in the procurement. So it's an outside group that's doing that. Procurement lives in finance. So that's separate and apart from the BA's office.
No, need your mic. Need a mic.
Yeah, I think that's good. We're good.
Thank you.
Direct.
Out to her directly, as we have just 1 hour left for other divisions and offices. But before we do it, one more question about professional services eliminated. Can you please talk about what are the professional services that those are eliminated?
So this is still the administrator's office. My understanding is that was for a stipend for a board position previously in 2025. That's no longer needed.
All right, we can start with communication. So before we do it, Director Choi, can you please talk about what is the communication office responsible for?
So the communications office is responsible for all public information from Jersey City government. A majority of it is emergency communication, right? So they're coordinating with the Department of Public Safety for any emergency alerts that we put out. They also put out public information through our website, all the programming that you see. In this administration, there's also been a strong focus on other channels of communication, such as social media with Facebook and Instagram. So that is the communications responsibilities.
All right.
Thank you. So my understanding is that the communications director reports directly to the mayor's office. Is that an accurate understanding, or does Nathaniel report to you?
So Nathaniel sits in the mayor's office because of the urgency of some of these communications needing to be reviewed by the mayor's office before they go out. But the oversight of this office and this unit belongs under and is under the business administrator's office.
Okay, thank you. I'm also interested in learning more about the media technician that was transferred to IT. Will they still be performing the same roles and responsibilities, and this position just fits better under IT, or what did this individual just accept a different position and this particular role was no longer needed for the comms related aspects?
Yeah, this particular role works on the management of our city's website. And I mentioned that the city's website is currently being redesigned. So we're working closely with IT to redesign that website. So it makes more sense for it to be under the IT division.
Okay, thank you. So, and then I also noticed that the 2025 budget included $80,000 for dues and subscriptions, line item 306, and $10,000 for professional services, line item 312. And these were both cut in the 2026 budget. And the justification/comments column says city comms budget unclassified. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so a lot of these dues and subscriptions and professional services were not just for the BA's office, but it's for the whole city. So it's been moved to a central account, and it's actually a tab in the workbook that was shared labeled unclassified communications. So this is how we account for all centralized communication budget items.
Can you explain what unclassified means in this context?
I'm not sure the history of how this is named. Finance? No, I can get back to you. I don't know why it's called unclassified.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Director Choi, is that okay if you stay back for 10 minutes as Councilman Gilmore has a couple of questions for you about Administrator's Office? Is
Yeah.
that okay, Councilman? You ask after 12?
Yeah, I'll reach out.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll start by saying I think it can be easy to look at from an outside perspective. You look at communications and say it's frivolous, but I know communications is really important to make sure that the public is getting transparent information about what's going on inside City Hall, and that there's really not just reactive but proactive communication between the administration and the public, but also to us on council. So I appreciate that we have a communications department with a lot of strong staff. I've just a couple questions to dig into what kind of work is going on, though. So one, we have Megan Malloy as a public information officer. I don't believe she was hired at the beginning of the year, and so could we just make sure that that prorated salary is also updated? Because on the workbook, it is $135,000 for the entire year, when I believe this position came on maybe in the spring. Is that right?
Yeah, we can reflect the prorated amount.
Thank you. Next, we have herself and then Stanley Easton as the two public information officers. Could you just describe the nature of having two public information officers? We have these two positions as a kind of senior staff of the office alongside or underneath the communications director, Nathaniel Steyer. So just what is the different kind of public information work that each of these roles does?
So there are a couple of things, as you see in multiple department workbooks. The civil service title may be the same, but the job and responsibility of the individual employee may be different. So just because the civil service title is the same doesn't necessarily mean they're performing the same duties. They may be delegating the work separately. And so there is another public information officer in this office, and it was made through savings in the BA's budget. And we hired this digital director to help lead the expansion of the city's online presence. So those are the new channels that I mentioned earlier, Facebook, Instagram, and there's been significant stats in terms of number of people who have been reached through those new channels.
And the more senior public information officer, what is the role that they play relative to setting aside the digital work and relative to Nathaniel leading the office?
So this is a small communications team for a large city government. So there's not just one person who's doing all the work, where, just like I was describing the assistant BAs, there's a delegation of work between the public information officers among the various departments. For example, you have a public officer liaising with public safety at all times, right? Putting out information, emergency communication. We also have a lot of other communication being put out by Health and Human Services, by Public Works. So the workload is divided and delegated among the team.
Okay, yeah, I think I understand there's a long list of information requests that we're making here, but it would be helpful to get just job descriptions for these different roles. I understand that things are complicated. There's coordination among different departments and different divisions, but making sure that, again, we can always go back to constituents and communicate ourselves. This is what each of these roles, especially in such senior positions, are doing and are responsible for, especially when the civil service titles, in some cases, obfuscate the differences in their responsibilities. And just lastly here, curious how the decisions came about to have the communications director of this office have a slightly lower salary than the deputy director and public information officer, and then the other public information officer who's the digital coordinator, it looks like.
Can you repeat the titles again?
So the communications director of the office makes a slightly lower salary, $130,000, than the two public information officers who sounds like they respectively serve as deputy director and as digital communications director, who are making $133,538 and $135,000.
Yeah, I think one of the more senior public information officer has been working in city government. And so there's a, experience and background that contributes to that salary. And then the one that was recently hired, she was highly qualified for that role. And we really believe in hiring people with that talent and commencing that with the salary that we think we should be offering. And so that is why her salary is that. And as for the communications director, I believe he came on early in the administration. And so I think those conversations were aligned with the budget conversations of that time.
Okay, thank you. I'll yield my time.
I'm a little confused because when I see communications director salary is lower than a public information officer, it's a little perplexing. But moving past that, if you know, director, previously, how many public information officers we had?
I don't have the information for that. I can get back to you. Meaning in 2025 or?
Yeah, because I mean, I think I know the answer. I mean, for all, I mean, I think Stan was the only one as the public information officer. So my question in that, because I'm just trying to understand if you can speak a little more to the responsibilities of public information officer, Megan, if you could speak more to like, what is her role? What does she do?
So she focuses on all the digital media work that we push out. So that's the website, Facebook, Instagram, all those digital channels of promoting the work of Jersey City, but also emergency communications. And that has increased tremendously as our vehicle for getting information out to the public. The other public information officer also works on proclamations and other municipal communications that are, working with the clerk's office and other traditional formats of communication.
I just briefly want to focus just on the recent hires. So our primary function is social media and updates on the city website. Am I hearing that correct?
All public-facing digital communication. So she also liaises with the various departments that have their own, channels of communication. Again, I find it very surprising coming from a large city how small this team is and how much it takes on in terms of the amount of work it pushes out very quickly often and needing to stay coordinated with the various departments. So these two public information officers not only pushes out information that is the BA's office or the mayor's office, but also all the other information for the other departments.
But these other departments have a mechanism to get the information out. Like I've seen HHS website, I've seen recreation website. They have a means of communicating. So I'm just trying to really understand like the importances. And this is not to diminish anyone. I don't know the young lady personally. I'm just saying, when we're combing through these budgets, right? Everyone know that the city is in a financial crisis. So these are the questions constituents are going to want answers to when they see us in the grocery store, wherever they may see us, right? We're going to have to articulate and explain why we have two public information officers. And I just want to make sure, one, that I'm able to articulate it, and two, more importantly, I just want to make sure that the salary suffice the functionalities of the job description. And right now, I'm hearing social media and city website.
That's
Full
correct. She
transparent.
manages all the new department accounts that you're seeing coming from social media. Previously, there was no coordination among the departments. So that is the role that she plays.
So when you say previously there was no coordination, give me examples, like specific examples. So previously there was no coordination in this area, and currently the coordination is here.
Correct.
How in any way, how does that help? Like, how does that help the city?
So for example, if there's some information being pushed out by public safety, but the Department of Recreation does not know, and it would impact their operations and their way of communicating out to the public, then that is being coordinated through a central office with this person, the public information officer, ensuring that the information being put out by the departments are consistent and aligned.
Previously, there was no infrastructure to get information from public safety to recreation, is your position?
Correct. Through social media, no.
I disagree. I think that while there wasn't great communication, I think that there were some communication around the board, although it may have been a lapse or a lag in it. And I honestly, I don't know, man. I just think given the financial constraints, man, I don't know. I don't see the value in this position. I don't see it. I don't see it.
You mean the position, not the person, just to be clear?
Yes, definitely. I don't know it is a young lady. Yeah, I don't know the young lady. I'm just saying specifically based on the functionalities of what this individual is doing, I don't think it warrants $135,000. And again, I don't even know how this position trumps the communication director, and the deputy director for that matter. So for me, this is, I mean, it raised a red flag for me.
Okay, can we get, and I don't know if this was asked for in a previous session, but can we get an updated employee list for the city? Because I know in some of the previous presentations, there were some new hires that came in after we got the workbook for some of the other divisions. And I want to make sure that we're capturing everything because I think there might have been some new hires also under administration since we got the workbooks. So I just want to make sure the council has all of the accurate information. So if we can get an updated list when you get a chance.
Yeah, we can provide an active employee list for the whole city. I have to say that the new hires for administration is reflected in the workbooks.
Okay, because I have, and I don't know how accurate it is because I don't see it here and I don't see it in the last employee list that we had. But I have a supervising admin analyst for the director's office. So I don't know if that is accurate or not. So I just want to check the records, but it was for 120,000, but I don't see it reflected in the workbook. And it should be under the administrator's office. At least I think it would be. So I'll verify that with you after.
Okay.
But in communications, can you speak to the difference between line item 203 and 407? 203, we have photographic supplies, and 407, we have photographic equipment. What is the distinction between those two lines?
So equipment, let me just pull that up quickly. I believe the equipment is for cameras, but I can double check that. And the supplies would be anything in terms of maintaining the equipment that we have.
Okay.
The photographic equipment that we have currently.
Let's go piggyback.
Go ahead, piggyback.
Thank you. So I noticed photographic supplies is 0, or no, sorry. I'm reading this wrong. Never mind. Piggyback revoke.
A quick question about Councilman Gilmore's points that I'd seen in my mind. But is it possible to consolidate all the communication departments in terms of recreation, health department, mayor's office?
That is the consolidation.
I think that, I think there's confusion amongst the council because we're saying that's the consolidation, but we have, public, information officers or communication directors in other departments. So if we're consolidating, then why aren't all those people under communications? Like, for instance, public safety has their own information person. I don't know which other departments off the top of my head. Why aren't all those people under communications if we're consolidating?
Yeah, I think public safety is the largest one where we need a public information officer, given the amount of activity that is happening under police and fire. No other department should have a public information officer, or at least playing that role. There may have been historical staff who were there, but the consolidation is under communications in the BA's office.
So you are saying HHS do not have any communication person now? These directors are.
There may be liaisons that we work with because we don't have the subject matter expertise of every department. So there may be communications staff in those departments that we liaise with to ensure that we have, we're putting out correct information.
Thank you.
And then my last question is line item 310, equipment maintenance and repair. I see that that's a new addition for this budget. We didn't have it in 2025. What are we maintaining?
This is equipment that we use to do our social media filming and pushing out of that content. But I can get you specifics on those exact equipment items.
Sminkler.
Yes, so where is the communications office physically located?
There are different rooms in City Hall on the third floor. There's a studio where some of the filming happens, but yes, they're in City Hall.
Okay, the reason why I asked that is because I know that the communications director and the public information officer, they both work out of the mayor's office, and that led many people to assume that they are under the administration. So with that being said, like how is the deputy director running day-to-day operations, or how is that being handled?
Yeah, I described that they sit in the mayor's office, given the urgency of some of the public messaging that needs to go out. And, mayor's office needs to have awareness of what's being put out centrally. And that is why they sit here for efficiency of getting those messages approved.
No, that wasn't my question. My question is, how is day-to-day operations being ran? Who's running? Is it the
It is the
director running
communication
from
director.
Okay. And also, with communications, I've been getting a lot of feedback about communications, regarding, meetings such as this. And, how most of them are not live, like when we go through like the Instagram page or it's only live on Teams. A lot of people in the city don't have access to that.
Yep.
And so, is there anything to your knowledge, being adjusted where the community as an entirety can see live, real-time meetings?
We can certainly take back that feedback. Teams is our main platform for live streaming these meetings. It is part of our Microsoft contract that we pay for. So if we find another platform or channel, it may be additional expense, but we can certainly explore other ways to make these meetings more accessible.
And again, I just want to reiterate, like the salaries, they look a little, they actually look upside down. I know Mr. Stan Eason has been here for at least, 20 years. I know he has longevity. So how do we come to you know what? That's an offline question. I'll ask that offline. No further questions.
All right. Just basically, the org chart was updated, it looks like last week. Do you have the 2025 version of the org chart for the administrator's office?
I can share that.
Thank you. Some of the communication positions that were referenced by my colleagues don't have salaries in 2027. Can you speak to that, please? So for example, the communications director and then the two public information officers, their salaries are excised for 2027. Is that what the parenthetical number means in 2027? Or is that for next, or we're saying that that's going to be in the 2027 budget?
Not sure what the discrepancy is there, but I can follow up with you on the 2027 column.
All right. So the communications department puts out communications for the entire city. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
So if the city council wanted to put out statements, videos, they'd be at our disposal to do so?
I believe there's some coordination, liaison support that we can provide. Again, we have a small communications team, so it depends on the type of work that needs to be included.
I know you keep saying small, but I know Jersey City is our second largest city, essentially the biggest city in New Jersey. When you say small, what are you basing that on? Because as busy as we are, it doesn't seem like we're busy to have more people in the communications department.
So there's a combination of different types of communication, right? The emergency communication could be a team of this size in itself, right? Given that you have public safety, health and human services, public works, there's a lot of things that just happen on a day-to-day that you need a team managing and reviewing the content and pushing it out. And then there's more proactive communication, knowing the programming, knowing the new initiatives that are coming forward, which this team also manages. So that is how I base this. Now we're all working with the resources we have, and this team handles all forms of communication.
The council president asked about the new hires list. This is obviously more general of a question. Were any new hires in the last, say, 2 months, non-essential employees?
No.
Would you consider a hire to the VA's office to be an essential employee?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I don't mean by the quality. I meant by when the mayor spoke to the council a couple of meetings ago, he said non-essential employees, meaning he's hiring for 911 operators, public safety.
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit more about what's essential for the BA's office in terms of public safety, answering a 911 call? Because the mayor said we got to keep this safe versus someone working in your office. And I'm not denigrating anyone who does the BA's job. You have an incredibly tough job running this city. I just meant when someone says non-essential, what's being referred to as non-public safety.
So we haven't hired anyone in the BA's office. We have hired a director of internal audit who oversees the audits of the city and also is helping us build out this performance management system. I consider that role as essential for helping us understand the delivery of services of every department and comparing that with the cost of those resources, which we don't have adequate data to do a lot of these budget conversations that we're having right now, which is why I think that's essential. We also recently hired a new HR director, which is also under Department of Administration. That is an essential role for helping us streamline, improve our ability to recruit, hire, and professionally develop our staff across the whole city, right? So those are the two hires we have made that I think are critical to the foundations of how we run city government.
Right, but you would agree with me. There's a I don't want to say a legal distinction, but in government, there's a distinction between non-essential and essential. And non-essential, again, being people who, if there were an emergency, they'd be, or if the budget wasn't passed, they'd be furloughed. They wouldn't be in government. Essential services being police, fire, 911. You agree with me that there's I'm not saying the word essential. I'm not sparring with you over the word, the meaning of the word essential. I mean, in terms of government, in New Jersey government, there's non-essential employees and essential employees. One's public safety, one's not. You would agree with me, at least there's that distinction, right?
I agree.
Okay. I'm concerned about some of the priorities here because with the provisional employees who were laid off, we're signaling to our city that I'm using the senior bus example again, taking our seniors to Walmart, to places to go, is less important than putting out social media content. Can you speak to that?
So I've said this a number of times in the department budget hearings. This process of reviewing our budget is very, very challenging. And we did not take lightly the review of provisional staff in compiling that list. We worked closely with department directors to identify the roles and responsibilities of every one of those employees. It is a difficult decision that we had to make. And the role of council right now is to scrutinize these budgets, ask the questions you're asking, and help, put forward what you think are priorities.
And again, I agree. You have a very difficult job. I take you at face value that you made difficult decisions in laying employees off. I'm just concerned that our priorities are a bit different.
Councilman Levin.
So I will, it's not a question. I just want to, for the record, reiterate what other councilpeople have said with regard to essential positions, as well as setting salaries and what goes into that. And with a position being paid more than the person they report to. And frankly, being paid more than for a public information officer than, I'm not sure how long the other gentleman's been here, but probably closer to 30 years at this point. I'm not sure. But, so that being said, so I don't beat the dead horse, and so we can move on. I'm just going to point out the line items as well. Similar stuff as on the 200s, office supplies, photographic supplies, to be looked at. And I'm also noticing on dues and subscriptions, while it's zeroed out on the budget, the expenditure report that you provided me shows that we've already spent money on that line, $15,935. So it's not budgeted, but it's been spent. I don't know if you're going to look to transfer those, again, if those costs can be accounting magic to be moved somewhere else, but or if waiting till the end of the year to do budget transfers. But I'm bringing it to your attention. Then the last thing I just really want to bring up, and because the Corporation Council mentioned this during our law hearing, is or maybe made reference to it, the idea of changing the amendments that the City Council can do, and I'll direct this to the Corporation Council herself, and maybe the City Clerk's office can assist here as well. But it's my understanding that we can only do line items. Like, while we may want to remove a position and say, consider it as not essential, that we don't actually have that authority, but I would like that confirmed for me in writing by someone, because that's just an assumption on my part based on past history. But if there is the authority to actually eliminate public line items for specific titles or positions, I'd like to know if that's possible for us. I don't know if that's something you can look into, or if I should go to the law department at this point.
I can certainly follow up with the law department, and I believe that is already an outstanding request, but I'll bump that up.
Thank you.
Sylvan?
I'm done with this communications, yeah.
Thank you. As we have multiple division and offices left, and we have just 30 minutes, so can we request 30 extra minutes? Is it possible?
I'm sorry, an additional 30 minutes, you said?
So is that okay?
That's okay for us. I'm deferring.
Okay for Council President?
We may not need it. I think we've hit some of the meatier ones, but I defer to the chair. I defer to the chair.
All right. All right. So next is utility management. Can you please talk about this office? What is the responsibility for this office, Director?
So this is not an office. This is an employee. The employee is employed by the water company. And my understanding is that this is a historical carryover of a person, and the city has an agreement with this company related to his pension. And so that's why we carry him in our records, but his salary is completely reimbursed by the water company.
How about overtime wages?
100% reimbursed by the water company.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I'll just quickly note that, again, I brought this up last week and we started to discuss, but just in terms of accounting, we see some kind of reimbursements in the form of grant offsets in some of the workbooks that cancel out the amounts in the budgets that were presented. And then here, we don't see that reimbursement. So I think just getting consistent in how offsets and reimbursements of that nature are accounted for, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
I guess I would just comment, I understand this employee probably has a contract and that can't be amended. But I would offer that going forward, having non-city employees on our city pension program is probably not the best practice because we are then still responsible for those payments. So I don't know if this was a one-off, he's grandfathered in, whatever, but is this a practice that is still currently being pursued?
My understanding is that this is the only employee that is, that has this status, but
Thank
we
you.
can look into it.
Any question on this? Otherwise, we can move to HR.
Nope, no questions. You're looking right at me, so I think.
All right. Director Roy, Ruby Choi, how are we doing with HR director? Do we have someone new? Do you want
Yes.
to talk about it?
Yes, today is her first day. Her name is Stephanie Pagan. She is starting to help us think about transforming HR in terms of modernizing our processes, streamlining operations, and working with the various departments, particularly the ones that have challenges with recruitment and professional development. So we're very excited to have her on board.
In the past couple of, different departments have been having issues with HR. How do you plan to make HR more functional, where people feel they are being answered? If you can talk a little about it, please.
Yeah, I think our HR division is working with all the resources that they have to make it as customer friendly and streamlined as possible. There are many challenges in terms of hiring that is not, I've described before, not necessarily HR processes, but more related to challenges with recruitment and finding the right person to fill the role, which leads to delays. So I think we have to look internally to see how we can better communicate to candidates exactly what the roles are and the salary ranges so that we avoid this delay and back and forth that sometimes departments feel. I mentioned early on that we have created HR committees. So we meet weekly now to review all the requests that are coming through from departments. This has streamlined the review process because this committee consists of finance, representatives from law, myself, so that we can quickly go through those requests without paperwork having to be bounced around different offices. So we're definitely looking at our operations to streamline it and make it more customer friendly for the departments that we work with.
Thank you, Director Choi. And can you please talk about line number, item 312 and 314?
So 312 are our professional and consultant specialization services. So this includes Jersey City Medical Center. So these are employee medical services, medical exams that we do for civilian and uniform employees for their application for employment. We also included in that are background investigations. So we have a vendor that does that when we're bringing on staff. We also have a vendor that does psychological exams for non-uniform and uniform employees fit for duty. We also have a vendor that does drug testing for employees that we're bringing on. And then under 312, we also have a technology contract for the software that we use to do the onboarding paperwork.
Thank
Councilwoman,
you.
Can I do a follow-up specifically on that item?
Yes.
So are these open-ended contracts?
I'm sorry?
Are any of these contracts open-ended?
They should all have end dates to the contracts and head of it. Yes.
Morning, they're yearly contract,
They're what?
yearly, annual contracts.
Yeah, but I know they're annual, but are they open-ended, meaning, is it we get charged as we use the services. So,
Correct.
yeah, all of the contracts.
Yes.
I look at the spend on this. The request is for 823,000. Sorry, the mayor's approved line was 823,000, correct? Last year, we spent over a million, 1.1 million, 1.15 million. And then looking at the spend today for 312, we've spent $157,000 to date. So, I'm just trying to reconcile that. I'd like to see the spends on these particular contracts for the last 4 years, to be able to see what whether we need to look at these more closely and right-size them, as I've said in the past.
Yeah, we can provide that.
Sorry, one more question, Director Choi. I see new hire local 246 requested $55,000. Could you talk more about it? It's in draft.
Sorry, new hire,
Yes.
full-time. That was requested, but it is no longer a position that we're hiring for.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. I'm a little confused in line item 101. Lourdes Almonte resigned last year and was backfilled by Melissa Branco. Melissa Branco was then terminated, but they have different titles. So Lourdes was a human resources coordinator. Melissa was a management specialist. When she was backfilled and then subsequently terminated, are these two positions both now vacant? And are you planning to hire for either of them, or were they not essential for the operation of the department?
So the human resources coordinator position is no longer being hired for. That was a cut that was made in the personnel. And then, I'm sorry, the other question was
Management specialist. So this
management
is
specialist.
Melissa Branco.
And that was part of the provisional list, which is
Okay.
also a role that we will not backfill because it's a reduction.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying. I also wanted to ask, Director Vicara from Finance mentioned that when he came into his role, he found that no performance reviews had been done of any employees in the Finance Department for the past 10 years. I understand, the performance reviews are not necessarily a metric for, for hiring and firing per se, or reductions in forces because of existing union contracts. So the performance reviews would not have been relevant in terms of any reduction in force. However, they do seem relevant when we're looking at who we want to promote internally and who we want to advance to, higher positions within the city government. Can you speak to whether the HR department will be implementing a performance review system for city employees?
Yeah, that's exactly one of the areas that we have our new HR director looking at. I was surprised myself when I came here to hear about performance reviews. My understanding is complicated because you have the unions, you have other stakeholders that need to be part of the process in terms of determining how to conduct and implement these performance reviews. So we can't just do it wholesale next week. There's a lot of conversations that need to have, but that is definitely one of those areas that we'd like to look at and work with the unions on.
Thank you.
I'll just ask you a couple questions. Line item 105, on acting position costs, out of title pay for 5 employees from, looks like end of the winter through next month. Could you just explain what this added title pay is for?
Yeah, I believe these were for employees who were on leave. You want to?
There are a couple of employees that are currently in FMLA, so we have other employees fulfilling those additional responsibility, and based on our labor contracts and union contract, we have to pay the active cost.
Okay. That's local 246,
246 and JCSA.
JCSC. Okay. Thank you for that clarity. I think it goes back to the conversation we were starting to have last week about, which employees in which positions get that kind of out of title pay and that extra compensation for having to take on work beyond the scope of what they were hired for when there are absences. And I think understanding that these are baked into union contracts for these positions, that's really helpful. Because we don't have a standard across the city, it sounds like, but they've bargained and they've won that. And then just 314, the line item 314, the 150,000 budgeted for workers' compensation. Are these claims that we owe, or are these just, is this we need to
This is
have on hand?
These are for professional services attorneys that we utilize for reviewing workers' comp claims.
Okay. And that lives under 314 instead of 312, just it's contractual instead of professional services.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilwoman, can I follow up on that? Just to that line item as well, just for the record, it's a reduction from 195,000 adopted in 2026. The mayor has come in with 150,000. So 45,000 reduction from 25 to 26. But the spend in 25 was $67,113. And the year to date is 0. So we'll look at that as well.
Director, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 senior personnel assistants. If you can explain, I guess the difference in their roles. I see there's a difference in salary. Some is low as 80. Yeah, the lowest is 82, and the highest is 130, 140. If you can explain difference that position.
Yes, basically, if the functionalities are different, the responsibilities as well. For example, the person that is holding the 140,000 salary is the division director, well, deputy division director currently. So there's no civil service title specifying that role. That's why the title is used as senior personnel assistant. The other senior personnel assistant with a high salary is an office director, which again is the same explanation, the no civil service title as office director. So we're using that same title.
Same. And your name, ma'am?
Joan Rosa.
Wait. Oh, wait, where's the, we have a new director? She's not here today, though.
She's not here. She just started an hour ago.
This was she could have came, she gave 165. We could have put her right in the fire. Oh, okay, so those, so although they have the same titles, some of them is doing more sophisticated work than others.
Correct. And the other ones, they are in the ranges of 84,000. Those are the HR generalists. Again, civil service don't have a HR series of titles, so we're using the same title, even though the responsibilities differ from one of another.
Okay. Ready? Oh, as it relates to HR, I know this it's been going on for some time now. So at one point, good Lord, what's the, on 440, what was that used to be? Incinerator Authority, right? JC, at one point, the city had absorbed some of those employees and dissolved that department. So a lot of them have been reaching out. Apparently, there's still some things that has to be worked out as it relates to time people were owed.
I can look into that and get back to you.
Okay.
How much did we, how much did we save, from the layoffs?
Can you repeat it, please?
How much money did we save from the layoffs?
I think it was 1.9
Okay, and can you go,
annually, but not prorated for the half of the year.
okay. And did you, can you, just go through the process with me of, layoff? Like, how does that work?
So the administrative process or how we?
Yes.
So I can speak to how we came up with that list, but then I can refer to HR in terms of the administrative part of it. Assuming that might be your question. So we took the list of all provisional employees. We looked at all the provisional employees that have been with the city for more than a year, right? Because those within the 12 months, we're assuming would be trying to take exams or work their way to getting into civil service status. So there's that 1 year grace period. But for all the provisional employees who have been here for more than a year, we took that list and we worked with each department who had those provisional employees to get feedback on their roles and responsibilities and how it compares with all the other employees they have in the department. You guys may be aware there's a separate and more lengthier process for layoffs related to civil service. So that's why we focused on the provisional staff in terms of coming up with that list. We got feedback from department directors. Ultimately, it was also the mayor's office, the mayor making the final decision on the list of employees. In terms of the step-by-step administrative process, I can refer to HR to explain what they did from the lists being created.
Once we received the final list, we generated the termination letters, which it was with the HR representative. Each HR representative made an appointment with each individual. They were on site at the time, and they were extended the termination letter.
Now, whose decision was it, and you guys probably don't know, whose decision was it to involve the police? That was something that was very problematic for me. I'm of the opinion, first of all, it's hard to digest this news, and then in a short period of time, and coupled with all that, the presence of the police. So I'm just trying to figure out like whose direction was that, whose position, what's the rationale behind it?
So the police was aware there were no uniformed police present when these letters were issued. However, there was an issue with a termination recently that led to some concerns about safety in the workplace. And that is why we had to alert the security within the buildings where employees were at the time, in case there was another instance like that. So it was about protecting the employees in the building.
So the issue, something happened previously before these, so out of an act of caution
Correct.
to protect other employees, not necessarily individuals, so you had police present.
Yep.
Okay. Now, as it relates to the 31 people that were laid off, the total saving is 1.9, correct?
Yes, I can double check on the budget numbers there for the entire city.
I guess the bigger question, is that a combination of salaries or salaries associated with benefits?
I believe that was salaries and benefits, but I can confirm with the finance department.
I think, in light of all that, if we can have like some form of protocol, as it relates to individuals being laid off or furloughed or anything, I would much rather have seen an email go out 2, 3 weeks in advance, explaining the position and why we have to do all of that stuff versus, I mean, they were saying people got notices and like they was terminated immediately. They were terminated. Can you speak to the time frame as it relates to the notice and the actual effective date?
Yeah. So this was a discussion that we had internally about the time frame of notice to the employee. My understanding is in the past, it has been done in the day of. And for a number of reasons, we decided to do the same. However, the termination of the employee is actually 2 weeks after the employee was told that they were terminated. So they have a paycheck 2 weeks after the day we told them to leave. So that is, the effective
I
date
think-
is 2 weeks after they
No,
were.
I'm speaking about like, if you're saying someone's, like how much notice was given, not that when the check is gonna come.
Mhm.
Trying to figure out, like,
Yeah.
you told them Monday on the 11th and then Friday on the 13th, it was supposed to be executed. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out that
Yeah.
time frame there.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely talk more about the reasons behind that decision.
No, Director, I just want to be clear. I'm just asking, what was the time frame? Did we notify them that they were being laid off Monday? And was it due immediately or was it due the following week? What is the time lane? And but
They were told the day of.
they would, that's my point. So in the future, if we can like give someone grace period, because this is, it's a huge thing for someone to like imbibe and take in. Granted, we're in a financial crisis and we have to do what we have to do, but I would much rather have liked to see a notice go out via email, then certified mail, or the director or the department could have had a conversation with it's a hard pill to swallow in general, and it magnifies that. And it's like, hey, we got to let you go. Hey, well, we got to let you go right now. Right? I just think that it sets a bad precedent for how good government's supposed to work.
I understand you. I hear you completely. That is why I was trying to say that we had thought about the pros and cons of that time period. And we can certainly talk about that some more offline on how we can improve that process.
Thank you.
If I can piggyback off of that, please. I noticed, Business Administrator Choi, that you chose your words very carefully when you said that uniformed police were not used to escort the people out. I asked the mayor's office about this directly because I also have a problem with someone being terminated and then escorted out by police. I think if there are safety concerns, having police on site is one thing, but having them escort the employees out shows a lack of respect for the employee's dignity. And what I was told by the mayor's office was that they were plainclothes police. They were still armed. They were still on duty. They just were not in uniform. And I still have a problem with it. Whether or not they were wearing their uniform is not really the important factor there for me. So I just wanted to echo Councilman Gilmore's concerns about how our employees are being treated.
Any other HR question?
All right, so can you just give us the background? 'Cause I know Mr. Carroll was the acting HR director. I'm just trying to follow along with the notes here in line K on the spreadsheet, so.
Joanne, Joanne Rosa is the acting director sitting right here.
Right, but if you read the spreadsheet, it says Joanne replaced Jimmy Carroll, so I just want to go back and go through the.
Yeah,
go through the.
That's correct.
Right, so then it says the new HR director's replacement for Joanne, but Joanne's not going anywhere, really.
No, she's not.
Can you speak to that a little bit, please?
So my understanding there, the HR director had always had a deputy director. And so with the hiring of our new HR director, Joanne's going to take the role of the deputy.
All right, so we have a director, a deputy director, and 2 senior administrative analysts. What are their roles?
So basically, to give you a little bit of history, in the past, HR was a department. Being that the department was absorbed as a division under administration, the same organizational structure remained the same. So in the past, the persons that were functioning as division director currently are functioning as office director. So some of the senior personnel are office director.
Joanne, so you were at, excuse me, you were in the acting role for acting director
Until today.
until today? Okay. How long were you in that role?
Well, I was actually the department director and then the division director. I was 6 years. 6 years,
Okay, so HR has been running under your direction for the last 6 years?
correct.
Um,
Jimmy Carroll's no longer with us.
He's in the courts now.
Yeah, he's in a different role.
What decision went into naming a director of HR other than the current structure that we were in? What emerging circumstances was the city in the way HR was currently running? It required a new director, a new hire.
So my understanding of the posting of the HR director was related to the administration coming in and needing to really look for leadership in areas that we wanted to transform operations, personnel. This is the division that brings talent into the city, leads training, professional development. It's a very critical role to make sure we have the right people running city government. And so that was a decision made by the administration to post that position and see if there was anyone in-house or other places who would be taking on that leadership role.
Just on that follow-up question, Acting Director Rosa, so HR has 36 employees, including the director or not including the director, the new director we have from today, including that? 30.
I guess my point was, Joanne was doing the job for the last 6 years. We're in a massive budget crisis to the point where we've never seen this amount of aid given to any city before. Did we really need to hire a director right this second for $150,000, given the fact that we're putting a 15.5% tax increase before our residents? Is that an essential hire? Again, essential meaning the term for government, not the thesaurus for a good hire, a necessary hire, an essential hire for this city to operate in its current position.
Yeah, I think I agree with you in the definition of essential. However, I think we just talked about a couple of areas where we do need to improve our HR operations. Performance evaluations is one of them, which would impact how we make budget decisions in the future. And so that was a decision made that it is a critical role that we had to fill.
Director Choi, you said something that stuck out to me, and it was to bring people into Jersey City. And so my question for HR is, what are the steps taken to ensure that someone qualified out of a city with a population of 300,000, and also city workers, employees, what steps are we taking? Because we talked about, we just had the communications meeting, and the one thing I don't see from communications is communicating that we're hiring. So people don't know, and there are highly qualified people in Jersey City. Again, you can't say 300,000 people. All 300,000 people are not qualified. That doesn't make any sense to me. So what steps are we taking, I guess, through HR and through communications to make sure that we are hiring people from within, people with the same stakes that we have, people who are looking to, help, drive the leadership that we need here, people with concerns, homeowners and things like that.
Yeah. When I said bring people into Jersey City, I meant City of Jersey City government. When I say Jersey City, not necessarily outside the geographical boundaries of Jersey City. I mean, bringing people into city government. One of the areas, like I said, we are looking to improve is recruitment. One is making sure we're on all the platforms, networks, communication channels to push out the job postings. We were literally trying to improve our budget in outreach in that way. So that's definitely an area where we're working to improve. And look, we're trying to communicate out in various channels. So if the council, you guys would like to help us too, we'd love to loop you in as we're doing this recruitment and posting, because as much as we can amplify the communities that you guys represent, we're happy to consider all candidates that would be the best fit for those roles.
Yep. All right. Just several questions for me on HR. So just looking at the organization chart and following up on my colleague said, the way it's created is there's no lines on this particular organization chart. So Ms. Rosa and Ms. Ricola are off to the right here, and so shall I assume that you're reporting to the HR director? Is that okay? And then the others under 4 different areas: employee benefits, WFM and employee relations, payroll, and risk management. Who do they report to directly?
Up until today, they reported to Joanne. They will report to the new HR director. Now, the new HR director may want to do some reorganization, which is why, that organization chart could change. It is in flux, but we would like to give her the opportunity to meet with every division and think about how she wants to restructure her leadership team.
Okay. I'd like to get some information about how many employees within this department are reporting to each person at the middle level below the director, right? Including Ms. Rosas and Ms. Ricola. So that's a total of 6 people, and just how many people are reporting to them? If you can provide who's reporting to them on this list, that'd be.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me and I don't know if I don't recall if you actually spoke about this already, the individual terminated, laid off as part of the recent provisional layoffs. Can you speak to who that was and what role they played?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Just looking at the line, there's a management specialist who was terminated as part of the provisional layoffs. Can you speak to who that individual is and what role they played in HR?
So her role was a HR specialist. She was one of the HR rep embedded in one of the departments. She was HR rep for the Department of HEDC. And she was under the structure of workforce management, employee relation and workforce management.
And so her responsibilities will be assumed by other people in the department.
Correct.
I'm just going to reiterate what my colleague said about the hiring, knowing that we've hired, and frankly, I learned something new coming into this hearing. Last time I was on council, HR was its own department, so there was an appointment for the HR director. That's not the case anymore. It's now a division. And so the city council has no role in the hiring of that position here in terms of advice and consent role. That being said, as my colleagues have said, given the fiscal crisis that we have, I think it's imprudent, ill-advised to be hiring a new director when, as was pointed out earlier by my colleagues, 6 senior personnel assistants, 2 senior supervising analysts, and the talent in-house to be able to, obviously, Ms. Rosa herself was the HR director, but the talent being internally here to be able to bring someone on board. So that's not a question. It's just me saying I disagree with that decision and that choice. And that needs to be, well, going to look to see, we've talked about turning over every stone. I've talked about that and then other council people as well at this point. So I think looking at what stone can be turned here to possibly reverse that decision and be able to save the taxpayers, but also just, as has been pointed out by, I believe it was Councilman Griffin, that we have the talents right here in Jersey City, right here in our offices to do this work. And I think, I mean, I've said that for past appointments, the idea that are we bringing people in who understand the city itself, and so consistently bringing in individuals who have a lack of institutional knowledge, but also a lack of familiarity with the city itself or its employees, right? That's so important in this role as HR director, to know all of the employees, to know who these people are that are working for us and busting their butt every day. So I'm going to turn over every stone and try to find a way to reverse that. That being said, I just want to reiterate on 312, getting those contracts and the spends on that over the past several years. And also on contractual services as well. Where see $150,000 allocated, down from $195,000 last year. In 2025, we spent $67,000 on this line item, and this year to date, $0 spent. So definitely going to be looking to right size that, but ask for the department's input on that in terms of making sure that you have the dollars in that line to provide the necessary services. I yield my time.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Acting Director. Now it's turn for IT. Director Noble Verghese. Total number of employees, full-time 12, part-time 1. I have just one. Can you talk about the line item 314, contractual services?
Yeah, I will start and then I'll turn to the director to give you all the details. The 314 contractual services, this is a significant increase when you compare it to 2025, because we did shift over $1 million that was captured in the capital budget of 2025 incorrectly when it should have been in the operating expenses. So we can go through in detail what the items are captured under 314.
We can send over an actual spreadsheet, but to give you a high level, it's our Newcastle Communications, which provides phone support, tech support for our phone systems, our Cisco SmartNet, and our Fortinet firewalls. Are all those in there, but I can send you an actual spreadsheet that lists out all of the contracts.
Any plan to consolidate IT for the city, for all the departments?
Yes. So we're starting with public safety, working with their team as well, trying to consolidate the staff resources as well as the software and other applications and systems that we use citywide.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I jump in just because I have to
Information
leave?
Technology.
So if I may, just on 314, the increase, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I read it somewhere, that it's attributable to monies were spent in capital dollars on these expenses. So you'll provide us the list of the contracts
Yes.
that were paid for in the past. I'd also like to see the capital ordinance, and that might not be out of your purview on that stuff, but that from which the money was drawn in the past. And this came up in a previous as well with, I think it was a DPW, with monies being spent out of the bond in the past. And this has been one of the areas where the administration has suggested that these were done improperly, and that they couldn't be paid through capital dollars. And so we're putting it all on the bill right now. So I want to verify that these are in fact, because it's my understanding that capital bonds are approved by DCA in many cases. So I want to make sure that that's because part of that DPW cost, some of it is still being absorbed by a capital bond, and part of it is not. So I just get some clarity about why this one has to be put into operating expenses as opposed to capital dollars.
Yeah, we'll follow up with you with the specific capital bond ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Yield my time. Thank you all.
Question, media technician, what is their role and why are they under IT and not under communications?
So I'll let the director talk about their specific responsibilities, but I think this is a situation similar to what we were trying to explain with HR, is that civil service titles may not directly explain the roles and responsibilities of the employees. I'll let the director talk about the staff that are in those titles and what they do.
This is specific to that one specific title, correct? That person is working on the city website, currently works on the website, and has been a part of the ADA compliance process that we've worked on for over the last year or so. And then also will be a part of the team that is working towards the new website, full development and support.
So they're working with, I'm assuming, communications.
Yes.
Quickly ask Director Burgess, processing programmer. This position did not exist before, but you requested.
Yes, because of the data analytics that's needed throughout. So in IT, there's the physical infrastructure, there's the computers, the servers, all that stuff that work. There's the telecom side of it, but then there's also the data that we use throughout the city. And there's really no good way to have a data lake and then be able to assess some of the data that's used citywide. So one of the major initiatives that I'd like to take on is streamlining it so that we can get rid of redundant software. There are software that are used, say, in specific divisions, but they're different software, but they're using it for similar data. So this person will be able to analyze and right size the application support. So one of the things that we've done is launch the whole application support team to help drive through that process. So this is a specific person that works with data and is programming. So they're not just technical as far as fixing computers, but this is a different skill set.
Thank you, Director.
I have a question about the seasonal computer service technician. I saw you requested $10,000. The administration's proposed budget includes $5,000. My question essentially is, what work can someone do in a seasonal capacity? I mean, for $5,000, this is probably like they're working for 1 month, maybe 2, and I'm wondering if it's even worth bringing them on board or just simply having the existing computer service technicians perform this work.
So my goal is interns. A couple of hours a week to help with asset management, some help desk calls is the goal. So to have either a young person out of college really be able to like just come in and help us and do some of the asset management and help desk.
This would be one individual.
Say that again?
This is for one individual?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other question?
So, direct, which, name again?
Noble.
Noble. So Noble, you're division, well, for instance, a purpose, you're the division director for information and technology, right?
Can you repeat that?
You're the division director, correct?
Correct.
Here.
Any other question on IT? Right. Now we have less than 15 minutes left. So any question on any office or any division, can we just ask in next 15 minutes, please?
Yeah, so as it relates to municipal court, is someone here with respect to municipal court?
So we have a Wednesday public hearing for municipal court.
But they're under the BA's,
That's correct.
with a separate, are they special? Okay. Motion.
Internal audit.
Oh.
Councilman,
Well,
have internal audit. All right, so just want to say that there are 4 employees, full-time, no part-time, and Director Alex Goff is here, right?
Correct.
All right, anyone? Questions?
Yes, thank you. So I understand audits happen on a recurring basis, but can you explain the mission statement of this division and what this division does on a day-to-day basis? It's a little unclear to me what this division is specifically auditing, and how does this differ from the auditing that the financial department does?
Yeah. So with most companies of the size and scale, there's normally a office that does internal auditing, which could be financial related, but could also be operational. In this case, these are auditors looking at operations. And they also work in conjunction with the finance department and any auditors that are external to government, external to city government, that is auditing the city. So for example, when the state does auditing of the city, this internal audit team is working directly with the finance department to offer responses. So the employees themselves, 2 of them are currently actually working very closely with the Commerce Division in reviewing and auditing licenses and any of the data that is being tracked and managed under Commerce. But there are rotating sort of areas that we would like to focus on, and the staff's being supported by a new director will be directed to look at things that we're concerned about internally.
I have a follow-up question, if that's okay. Just, I'd like to get clarity on the difference between finances and operations. Operations are the functioning of the different city departments and things.
Yep. So there's financial auditing, which is looking purely at the budget numbers and accounting to make sure that we are paying our bills, that we're doing all the things based on, financial best practices. Operation auditing is looking at how different departments and divisions are doing their work per policies and directives that are managed by the city. I'll just say one of the projects we're looking at, for example, is our auditing of IT fixed assets. So those are computers, data systems, things that are around the city, but we want to make sure we have tracking of them and that they are being used properly. So that's an example of operational auditing versus financial auditing.
And these roles are outside of the scope of what directors, managers, supervisors, and then up to your office, what the ABAs and deputy BA and yourself would do, like that fall outside the scope of what just general supervision and management is tasked with in terms of tracking to make sure the functioning of our departments is working.
Yes, because you need an objective party to be reviewing the work of other departments and divisions. Oh, one more.
Let me give you a perfect example.
Thank you, please.
'Cause I've had the opportunity to work with them. So in IT itself, we have an actual asset management tool, right? Every time a computer gets assigned, the technician assigns it to the person. So in our work with internal control was to actually double check our work. It's like really quality control, making sure if it's happening, because things happen so many times in the course of a day that we're putting out a lot of equipment. If a tech misses something, this gives us an opportunity to really have quality control. So that's one of the projects that we've worked with internal audit on, is making sure just auditing our process. And going through the database that we have with the assets and making sure it's assigned. And sometimes it's just random sampling, like they'll pick up what equipment does Joanne have and verify that what's in our system is accurate to what, it's on her desk.
Thank you. Has there ever been an internal audit of landlord tenant office, of housing preservation, or other divisions within HEDC that are relevant to what we've seen for years is the impetus for our rent protection special investigatory committee that we have set up?
I'm not sure in the history of their work. Need to double check what their audits contain. But HEDC is actually coming at 1:00. So I think that's a great question for them. But this is something I'll follow up and see if there was any historical audits or reviews.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question, Council? Please? No? All right.
Sure. I ask for it.
Second.
Motion to adjourn at 12:23 PM. Motion was made by Councilperson Gilmore, seconded by Councilperson Singh. All in favor of the motion at 12:23 PM. All council members present by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
I want to say thank you to all the directors for answering our questions. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
You're out of here at 12:23 PM. Thank you so much, everyone present and everyone watching at home. Remember, teamwork makes the dream work. Have a great rest of the day. See you back at 1:00 for the additional budget hearing.